Good day to you, ma'am. We are the Group 9, in which our topic is about the teaching learning approaches and strategies in peace education. So, the how is just as important as what, because when no matter how much you know about the what, but then if the how lacks more of it, then it becomes pointless, as the how will be the one or will serve as the implementation or the doer in the what, so as to implement the what. So these two are should not be separated in order to have a better outcome. Hence, the teaching learning approaches that are compatible with the goals of peace education are the holistic, participatory, cooperative, experiential, and humanist. So, the holistic education does not confine itself to the parameter of facts and concepts. Instead, it promotes cognitive, affective, and behavioral goals of learning. Often, the focus of the learning is the transmission of concepts. In other words, the holistic education does not only limit itself to the facts and concepts, but it also focuses and recognizes the need to develop and for the individual as a whole itself or as the person itself, considering all its aspects, either in cognitive, affective, or behavioral aspects of the individuals. In peace education, the goals are in three folds. So the first is the building of awareness on realities, roots, and consequences of violence, and the building of awareness on the roots of peace. In other words, the first goal of the peace education in the holistic learning or education is that we have to recognize and address the roots and the consequences of the violences in the realities, or the awareness of the realities, and that also the roots of peace. For instance, as the saying goes, what you plant is what you reap, or what you sow is what you reap. So when you plant honesty, then eventually you will reap trust. So we have to know or be aware of our acts, as everything we do has its consequences. That if what we plant is evil, then we will eventually reap and results of evil, evil things or deeds. So we must be aware of it before we take actions. The second one is the building of concern and the developments of empathy, compassion, hope, and social responsibility. That, according to Harris and Morrison, 2003, they call it the development of moral sensitivity, culminating in the building of the capacity of learners to care for each other. In other words, this is where the students finds or build its connections among its others, where they will be able to develop their empathy, compassion, hope, and social responsibility for each of them and for themselves as well. So, this is where you show affections and care for the people around you. The third one is the call to action for the beginning with the resolve change personal mindsets and attitudes and doing something concrete about situations of violence. This is where you let yourself to take actions in that particular situation in order to have a solution or to solve that situation in a good way, like the change of mindsets and attitudes of an individual in order to solve that situation of violence. As we have to be more open to the diverseness, as we have to recognize and address the diverseness of every individual in our country, or the uniqueness of every individual. So we have to change the mindset and attitudes of us where we are being selfish, or we don't want to hear anything about the opinions of the people around us, where we only find our own voice or our own opinion, strategies, and such as the correct one to solve the situation. So we have to change that in order to be able to come up with a better solution in order to resolve that situation. Participatory education means allowing the students, learners, to inquire, share, and collaborate, allowing the students to have a dialogue with their teachers and co learners as well, where the practice of articulating and listening to the diverseness, where the practice of articulating and listening to the diverse point of view is an important exercise in broadening perspectives. Such skill is necessary in a world where many conflicts remains unsolved because of people's refusal to hear one another. In this learning, the teachers serves as a facilitator in the class instead of being an authoritative figure to the students or the learners. This also means that in the participatory learning, we are veering away from the traditional indoctrination style. The observance of democratic process in the classroom can contribute to the development of knowledge, skills, and attitudes necessary for democratic citizenship, according to Harris and Morrison 2003. This means that the participatory education or learning is it promotes a democratic environment and let the learners or an individual to take part into that kind of situation and in the society where they are allowed to, it is where the students are allowed to do their own investigation in acquiring information about the issues that are being presented, and that the teacher will serve as a facilitator to the students in articulating their own perspectives about that issues, even though they have a firm stand on that issue, but then they will allow the students to have their own opinion about that topic. Another one is it also means that we are open to possible changes in the traditional indoctrination styles, where the inequality in that traditional style are present. But then in this participatory learning or education is that it promotes the equality of all, where all individuals or learners are able to take part in that particular activities or situations or in the society. That in observance of the democratic process, this also means that we are creating a more democratic environment where we'll let our own students or we'll let the learners to be able to express themselves and take part on it, that can contribute to the development of the knowledge, skills, and attitudes of a individual, that is very necessary becoming a uh, democratic citizen in our own country, according to Harris and Morrison 2003. The third one is the cooperative learning, which means that it allows and gives opportunities for the participants to work together and learn rather than compete with each other. Cooperative learning, aside from increasing motivation to learn, improves relations among students, challenges individualism, and lessen divisiveness and feeling of prejudice. It reverses the feeling of alienation and isolation and promotes more positive attitudes. In a cooperative classroom, students learn to rely on each other, and the success of learning activities depends on the contribution of each one of them. This means that the cooperative learning is where the students do not see themselves as a competitors, but rather they see themselves as an ally or an affiliate or a member in that group, where they will learn or develop to rely on each other despite the differences that they have. In this learning, it really boosts the students' self confidence, or the the need to recognize to be part of that group and to be cooperative with whatever they do in order to achieve the success of that learning activities, where the students are being motivated to learn more and acquire more knowledge and enhance their skills as they are being recognized and is considered in that group as they cooperate with one another. Especially, it will eventually lessen the divisiveness, or be or having the division of one another, of or eliminating the classification of identifying the students in accordance in the grounds of their status, race, gender, sex, and etc. That only through the cooperative learning or method, being cooperative to your member, is what you can call a success. As there is a saying that the success of one is the success of all. So, in order for you to success, you have to gather your members to be cooperative enough to uplift you as a representative in that group, or you will be learning together and acquire the necessary things in order to complete or comply that learning activities and to make it more successful. Through this, it will reverses the feeling of alienation and isolation, that only positive results or attitudes is what is likely to be observed.
God bless, Mom. So I am assigned to discuss the fourth and fifth approaches in learning and the 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 strategies. So first, I will going to discuss the fourth approaches, which is teach students how to resolve conflicts peacefully and constructively. So, teach students how to use this approach and how to dialogue constructively. Conflicts between students are a natural part of life inside the classroom or schools and should be treated as such. Helping students respond to unresolved conflicts with peers is an important part of their learning. So as a teacher, your goal is not just to teach your students, but also to help and guide them on how to resolve their conflicts between other people. So understanding that conflicts are natural can help teachers use them as teachable moments. Teachers should expect and embrace this conflict as part of a child's learning. Handling classroom conflicts is a part of most teachers' lives. Even seemingly small disputes can negatively impact the classroom environment and interfere with long-term relationships. The fifth approach is practice student skills of communication. One way to avoid conflicts emanating from miscommunication is to teach the students how to clarify and paraphrase. So being able to communicate effectively is one of the most important life skills to learn. So if there is no better communication between the teacher and the students, there might be a tendency that the students cannot learn easily. So as what I said, without well-developed communication skills, children run the risk of falling behind their peers or becoming emotionally overwhelmed.
There are many learning strategies that are compatible with the approaches to peace education that are described above, and these are as follows. So, the first one is the discussion. It is where the small group discussion is a strategy used to enable the individual's participants' voice to be heard. To be most effective, a discussion has to be based on factual information and good thought out ideas. This means that this strategy promotes a democratic environment where everyone has the right to participate or to express their own opinion and ideas to contribute to the group in order for them to come up with a better discussion or a better results for their chosen topic, and that to be able to achieve it or to achieve a better outcome, the information that are being shared should be based on the factual and good ideas, so that when gathering the information or when consolidating the information, we can say that our the information that had been gathered by us through our discussion is based on the collected factual information and is not biased, or we are not delivering a false information about our topic, that only the facts that we will be disseminating. The next one is the pair share. It is a discussion technique where partner groups are formed. Facilitator poses a question or a topic for discussion. Person A responds to the question uninterrupted while person B listens. After a given time, partner reverse rules. Later, A relates to the class the points B expressed and vice versa. It is a good exercise to improve listening skills. This means that the pair share is where the listening skills of the learners are being challenged. As the groups, the two students or learners will be challenged to uh, say or to expand their the points of their partners to the class and vice versa in a more understanding or an easy explanation, so that the class will be able to grasp the situation or the information easily. In other words, you have to summarize or to understand well the points or the highlights of the answers to the questions that your partner had answered in order for you to share it to the class and vice versa. The third strategy is the visualization or imagination exercise. The visualization exercise helps the students or the participants to use their imagination. It allows them to imagine alternative to situations of conflicts. So this means that we are visualizing and are using our imagination in order for us to come up with a better solution or an alternative solution to the situation of conflicts or in resolving the conflicts, where we use our imagination in gathering our solution to that situation of conflict, and then we visualize it, and then after we visualize it we take it into consideration and plan it to implement it and apply it in resolving that conflict. The fourth one is perspective taking. In this strategy, the learners are asked to understand and appreciate where the other person is coming from. It is a skill used in problem solving. This entails that standing in the shoe of the other and walking in them for a while. This device is often used to develop empathy and tolerance. This means that all has its unique own traits and we all have differences. That in this perspective taking, we are our empathy and our tolerance is being developed as, or the learnings of it is that before we criticize an individual we have to take part or to take the part or be in the shoes of that individual before we criticize him or we discriminate him. That since we recognize and address or accept that we all have differences, then we have to consider all aspects of the individuals so as to be able to criticize him in a good way or in a factual information. So these pictures in the right side shows that the two individuals has different perspectives, where the other one on the right side says that the number that he can see is number 9, and while on the left side the individual says that it is number 6. And then when we look at it as a whole, then there is nothing, no one is wrong among them, as you can't blame someone for saying that it is 6 or it is 9 for their own, as we all have a different situation and standing in this country that affects and shows what our perspective is in accordance to the situations we are in. So the thing that we can do about is just respect one another and accept the differences or recognize the differences and be respectful to one another so that we can live in a peaceful country or environment. That before we discriminate or judge someone, we have to look at what is behind that person. So before we do something and or criticize him.
So we go on to the fifth strategies in learning. So the fifth strategy is role playing. This strategy is used to provide the participants with the opportunity to feel the situation rather than merely intellectualize about it. So a technique that allows students to explore realistic situations by interacting with other people in a managed way in order to develop experience and trial different strategies in supported environment. And the sixth strategy is simulation games. Allow learners to have a better feel of the situation of peacelessness and allows them to be more creative. So in simulation games, learners are expected to make decisions and problem solve in increasingly difficult circumstances. The number 7 is strategy is problem solving. It enables the person to use other valuable cognitive skills such as analyzing, generating opinions, and evaluating options. So in problem solving, students expand their ability to reason, analyze situations, and make objective judgments. So in problem solving is and should be a very real part of curriculum. It presupposes that students can take on some of the responsibility for their own learning and can take personal actions to solve problems, resolve conflicts, discuss alternatives, and focus on thinking as a vital element of curriculum. So the number 8 strategy is considering position or issues poll. So use the surface for defining positions of participants to a controversial statement as in the case of the statement. So encouraging positions or issue poll, it enables students to learn more about each other, find commonalities with peers, and contribute to a collaborative learning environment. So the ninth strategy is encouraging action. The participants are asked to express a resolution or commitment to certain actions as a form of appreciations of learning or learnings. So students expand their ability to reason, analyze situation, and make objective judgments.
Good day, ma'am. My name is Sandalay Sultan, Great Western College. Reading or writing a quotation. The reading of a pin-related quotation in the beginning or at the end of a lesson encourages learners to think or appreciate better the concept learned in the session. With charting, writing a word such as war or peace on the word in the beginning of session and inviting stammers to write or draw their associate with the word stimulates thinking. It is also a good springboard for the discussion of a particular quiz-related concept. Use of film and photographs. The showing of film and or photographs help create vivid images in the mind of the learners. This can be followed by a discussion on message convey and learners' reactions. Telling stories, including personal stories. Learners sometimes remember the concept we want to share through our anecdotes and stories. Sharing your personal experiences related to these issues will help illustrate better the points you want to make, such as strategy also help learners connect with you on a more personal basis. Song poem analysis. Many songs and poems contain peace-related message, allowing your student to listen to or end them, identify their favorite lines, and interpret message will help them learn the values you want to impart in a more creative manner. Sentence completion. Encouraging learner to complete unfinished sentence will help you know what thoughts and feelings they may have about a particular topic. The strategy may also be used to solicit actions idea from the participants. Journal writing, individual reflection. At the end of a session, you may want to invite participants to answer one or two questions that will allow them to think of their to response reflection reactions to an issue that has just been discussed.
So hi everyone, good day. By the way, my name is Nathaniel Lubguban Swan and I'm taking up Bachelor of Elementary Education first year. So for today's video, I will be reporting about my topic, which is teaching learning approaches and strategies in peace education. So we have Go Ground, and teachable moments and interview research, and also expert resources and reciprocal training and reciprocal teaching and twinning project and also dialogue. So go ground, it is the strategy where the opinion of each participant is briefly solicited. So as you heard my report, I will show you about my short knowledge. So ang naibalaan ako sa go ground ma'am is strategy siya or opinion nato sa tagsa-tagsa nato nga kita ang partisipante ako ang kaugalingon na ano bitaw nga kay strategy ma'am wala na akong masabtan sa go ground. And the next is teachable moments. Teachable moment, it is an opportunity seized by the teacher to discuss the hot issue of the day. It may be an issue that is internal to the class. So the next ma'am is ang teachable moment. Ang akong nasabtan ani ma'am is sa panandaliang ay opportunity gyapon ni siya ma'am nga ang teacher nag discuss about na itong hot issue nga lang mainit na mga issue pwede na to siya magamit sa external to the class. Kaya kanang mga mainit na mga issue na imong ma-share sa mga estudyante. Is interviews research. So learning get the chance to gather information from third sources, and asking students to interview peace and advocates for instance would help them to appreciate what others do to help build a culture of peace. So the next ma'am is interview research. Ang akong nasabtan rin ma'am ang mag-aaral daw which is magkuha sila na sila pagkakataon kumuha ng mga lab or magkuha ng informasyon mula sa pangatlong o sa ikatulong nga pagkukunan. So for example na nang makatulong sa ilaha makasabot sila kung sa ilang buhat sa para makatabang kini sa pagbuo sa kultura o sa kapayapaan. So the next is expert resources. Learning are exposed to the ideas of advocates for justice and peace. The use of a third person is most helpful for every controversial topic. Is reciprocal teaching. So reciprocal teaching, students take turn in facilitating, and what we hear or we usually forget what we see, and we usually remember, but what we do we better understand, and when given a chance to teach the subject matter, students are given the chance to comprehend better the concept of values and skills we want to impart. So ang sunod ma'am which is ang reciprocal teaching. Akong nasabtan diri ma'am kay ang kinahanglan ng students we take turn in our facilitating ug unsa ato ang madungog, and we usually forget what we see. Ang ato ang hinumduman nga but what we do we better understand. Kinahanglan nga musabot ta sa mga ug ang estudyante hatagan siya chance nga mutudlo the subject matter. Kinahanglan nga kung tagaan siya chance makomprehend niya ang iyang values ug ang skill we want to important. So importante kaayo ang values ug ang skills. It's twinning project. So students may partner with another person from a different locality via email or regular mail to discuss topics related to peace. So ang the next ma'am is twinning project. So akong nasabtan ri ma'am ana bitong mag-aaral nga makipagsusyo sa ubang mga tao sa unsang mga lugar sa pamamagitan ng email or regular na mali ng pagsangkit ng kaugnayan sa kapayapaan. So dialogues, students are given the opportunity to converse rather than the debate about problematic issue in debates. The goal is to prove each other wrong. Dialogues, on the other hand, are the occasions to find common grounds. So sa dialogue ma'am, ang last which is ang students are given opportunity to converse, like kitagaan siya opportunity nga ma-converse rather than debate. Kana bitong dili lang siya makig-debate about sa mga problematic issue in debates. Ang goal na lang ma'am is to prove each other wrong. Dialogues on the other hand, and were occasions to find common grounds. So kato lang akong ma-share sa inyo ha ma'am. Gamay lang kayo. Salamat kayo ma'am. Thank you and God bless.
Go day, ma'am. I'm Diana Ashrita Shaman. Exposure trips. Students are given the opportunity to be touched by victims of injustice, seeing Hearing and encountering a victim of violence is more powerful in developing empathy and compassion among the learners. Contact opportunities and also motivate better including students to action. Exposure trips, students that are normal will not just give an opportunity to help these people who have a lot of trials and negative experiences. So supposedly, they are obliged to help those people who suffers from a lot of violence. Even with simple action can help those people who are criticized. Use of globes and maps. A constant show of these devices will remind learners that they are people from other countries to care for and be concerned about other than one's. By the use of globes and maps, we can find out that there's a lot of people from other places that needed to care or obliged to be known as needed help and support. It can help us remember that the occurrence of one problem doesn't occur in one place only. By brainstorming, it is a method that helps people think creatively by letting many ideas flow from the students without any comment from the others. This strategy can be useful in generating many different solutions or alternatives. Evaluation of the ideas is done after the brainstorming. So brainstorming, the very best key of achieving a successful and meaningful conclusion is help of that team or a group. It will be more helpful if they will undergo with brainstorming so that after gathering many and different ideas, they can they can create they can create a credible conclusion. Reading quotations. Peace activists, religious leaders, indigenous community leaders, and philosophers have said words of wisdom and inspiration that relate to peace. Let your student ponder on these quotations and speak about the impact of these ideas on. So, reading quotations, all of these person started in this paragraph has a great role in this generation. They are the leaders and they are obliged to help people, obliged to give concerns and inspiration also. Then, with inspiration to everybody who are criticized unknowingly, they are the one who will lift up the people when they are in the darkness. Use of charts and graphs. Statistics do not have an impact on students in the same way that contact with victims of injustice does, but statistics will help in giving learners an idea of the extent and magnitude of problems in society. The Human Development Report, an annual publication of the UNDP, is a rich resource for facts and figures. Use of charts and graphs are often used to demonstrate trends, patterns, and relationship between sets of data. So useful in differentiating things and easily allow to us to remember and understand the data. Case study. This strategy gives the students an opportunity to know real-life situation of violence or injustice. Case studies are stories or scenarios that require analysis and invite solution. Students are put in the position of problem solvers who discover underlying issues, positions, and interests. So, case study describing or individual situation or a case requires you to analyze deeply the situation and use the methods and use the methods to solve a case. Collage making. A collage is a collection of photos from various sources that are put together to make a whole. Asking students to make a collage on issues that relate to peace will help them understand those issues better. Collage making is an art made from pieces of pictures, magazines, and different types of paper that can be used to present or amplify your art. Show and tell. This strategy gives the student an opportunity to explain a concept to his or her classmates where with matching visual aids and is premised on the belief that if one can explain a concept well to someone else, this person without doubt understand the concept. Show and tell. Mostly we get the attentions of the students by showing them pictures or things that might turn their heads and lesson on you. This approach or strategy will help the students to participate well in class. Showing pictures or things can give them ideas that they can share and can easily explain what they have seen. They become more participative when you got their interest, and most of them will be excited on participating in your class. At the same time, they will listen carefully because you already got their attention. These approaches and strategies are important tools towards the development of the students' intellect, attitudes, and spirit that will be inspired to work for peace. In deciding what approach or strategy to take the particular lesson or session, objectives have to be considered which strategies would be most appropriate and effective in achieving the latter. As we use the forgiving tools, let us always be mindful of our goal, which is to facilitate learning that is holistic, participatory, collaborative,